Some 60 Koreans detained in Cambodia over job scams and other crimes are set to be returned home on Saturday. While in a related move, President Ejae ordered the deletion of illegal job ads offering work in Southeast Asia. South Korean officials held 2-hour-long tariff negotiations with their U.S. counterparts on Thursday, in their latest efforts to narrow the gap on Seoul's $350 billion investment in Washington, ahead of the APEC leaders meeting taking place in South Korea later this month. The economy is recovering from a first-half downturn on the back of the government's stimulus coupon program, according to the finance ministry. The country also added 312,000 jobs last month, and its fastest year-on-year growth in 19 months. The government is moving to repatriate South Korean citizens detained in Cambodia, while expanding efforts to curb overseas job scams. A charter flight is being prepared for their return, and the president has ordered the emergency removal of illegal recruitment ads luring Koreans to Southeast Asia. Our Pyongyang starts off.
National Security Advisor Ri Song-nak said Friday that a charter flight is being prepared to bring back Koreans currently held by the Cambodian authorities.
While we cannot completely rule out last-minute variables, the plan currently under final discussion with the Cambodian authorities is for a chartered flight to depart Phnom Penh around midnight local time early tomorrow morning, Korea time, bringing the detainees back to Incheon.
Around 60 Koreans, most of them criminal suspects linked to job scam operations, will be on board. A police escort team has already departed from Incheon to ensure safe transfer. We also said that a Korean delegation has met with Cambodia's vice foreign minister over online job scam cooperation and has plans to meet the interior minister as well. Seoul's new ambassador to Phnom Penh will oversee local efforts, while Foreign Minister Cho Hyun held talks with Mekong region envoys. We said Korean missions abroad were told to assess risks and boost cooperation through the UN and OECD. Meanwhile, the presidential office has launched a domestic crackdown on the online recruitment ads that led many Koreans into scam job operations.
President Lee ordered the relevant agencies, including the Korea Communications Commission, the Korea Communication Standards Commission, and the National Police Agency, to urgently remove illegal job ads targeting not only Cambodia, but the entire Southeast Asia region.
The government has also set up a consultative body with major tech firms, including Naver, Kakao, and Google, to build a real-time monitoring and removal system. The move aims to prevent scam recruiters from shifting their operations to other Southeast Asian countries as Cambodia tightens enforcement. The government is also preparing to send investigators to Cambodia to observe the autopsy of the Korean student who was one of the most recent victims killed, part of efforts to uncover the full circumstances of the case. The autopsy will most likely be carried out early next week to determine the exact cause and circumstances surrounding the death. 2 investigators from South Korea will be dispatched as early as this weekend to attend the procedure and observe the entire process alongside local officials. These developments come just a day after Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet expressed deep regret over the killing of the Korean college student and pledged to strengthen cooperation with Seoul to prevent further crimes. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
South Korea and the U.S. have wrapped up their 2-hour-long tariff negotiations to fine-tune how to finance and profit Seoul's $1 billion investment in Washington. No details like the progress or plans for further talks are not immediately known, but South Korean officials called Thursday's 2-hour talks sufficient. Moon Jung reports.
As high-ranking South Korean government officials have entered the final phase of their talks in the United States, their first day of negotiations concluded with Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Kim Yong-bum saying that they've had sufficient discussions lasting 2 hours. Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Kim Yong-bum, Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwan, and Trade Minister Yeo Han-gu met with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick at the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. The industry minister met with Lutnick again after approximately 2 weeks to continue discussions aimed at narrowing differences over the proposed $350 billion investment package. Upon their arrival, the minister and presidential chief of staff held their first official meeting with Gov't, director of the Office of Management and Budget, where they discussed measures for shipbuilding cooperation between the two countries. While the OMB is not directly involved in tariff negotiations, the South Korean delegation expects that emphasizing Korea-U.S. shipbuilding cooperation will positively influence efforts to reconcile differences regarding the $350 billion investment package.
The OMB is a very crucial entity for the shipbuilding cooperation project. We are visiting the office as we want to listen to what it has to say and share each other's views on shipbuilding industrial cooperation between our country and the U.S.
Earlier, Kim said that both nations are negotiating in the most earnest and constructive atmosphere. Regarding U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's expectation of results within 10 days, the official took it as a positive sign.
When the U.S. expects a result within 10 days, that apparently represents its interim assessment of the negotiations with us, and I read it as a sign that is not bad.
Kim also emphasized the critical importance of the Korea-U.S. summit scheduled for the end of this month, held on the sidelines of the APEC leaders meeting in Gyeongju. Reinforcing the delegation's efforts, Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol, who is in Washington for the IMF General Assembly, met with Bessent, acknowledging Korea's difficulty in meeting the U.S.'s $350 billion upfront investment demand. He noted that while U.S. secretaries understand Seoul's position, President Donald Trump's persuasion remains uncertain. He expressed concerns that paying the full amount upfront would undoubtedly pose a problem for Korea's foreign exchange stability. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
South Korea's exports of cosmetics rose to an all-time high in the first 3 quarters of the year. The Korea Customs Service said outbound shipments of cosmetics totaled $8.52 billion in the first 9 months of the year, marking the highest level for the cited period. Korean cosmetics were sold in a total of 205 countries, the largest number ever. Now, by country, the U.S. was the #1 destination, followed by China and Japan, respectively. Regarding categories, skincare products accounted for 41.7% of all overseas sales. The South Korean economy is showing signs of a recovery from a first-half slowdown, backed by a strong job market and a surge in September consumption. But the government's latest monthly assessment maintains a cautious tone, pointing to lingering risks both at home and abroad. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
The South Korean economy is showing signs of emerging from its first-half slowdown, but persistent risks continue to weigh on the outlook. That's the latest assessment from the Ministry of Economy and Finance in its monthly Green Book report released on Friday. The government diagnosed that key indicators like production and consumption are on a general improvement trend with the help of the recent distribution of spending coupons by the government. Improvements showed on the labor market. According to the Ministry of Data and Statistics, the economy added 312,000 jobs from a year earlier, with the service sector delivering the biggest portion of the growth, with spending on the rise. The employment rate rose by 0.4 percentage points to 63.7%. This came alongside a rebound in private spending. Forward-looking data for September shows domestic credit card spending jumped 8.5% year-on-year, the highest rate this year. Sales of domestically produced cars also hit a yearly high, surging over 18%. And online sales were exceptionally strong, climbing nearly 20%. This recent surge follows a period of weakness. The Finance Ministry reported that retail sales in August had fallen by 2.4% from the month before. And consumer sentiment in September dipped slightly, with the index falling 1.3 points to 110.1. On the trade front, headline figures appear positive. September exports rose 12.6% from the same month last year with the help of more working days. A closer look shows export to the key U.S. market fell by 1%, fueling the government's concerns over risks from international tariff policies. The government pledged to swiftly execute its supplementary budget to support domestic demand while focusing on managing these external challenges. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
With the APEC leaders meeting now just about 2 weeks away, Prime Minister Kim Min-seok, who heads the event's organizing committee, has called for an all-out efforts to ensure the forum runs smoothly and safely. Kim chaired an inspection meeting in Gyeongju, the host city, on Friday, to review preparations for the leaders meeting and CEO summit, as well as security and emergency response measures. He stressed that all related agencies must thoroughly cross-check potential risks in the final stages to avoid any disruptions. The Prime Minister is scheduled to return to Gyeongju next week for another on-site inspection. Just a day before his scheduled meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, U.S. President Donald Trump held an unexpected phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which both sides are reported claiming to have been very productive. The leaders have agreed to meet in Hungary within the next 2 weeks. Yoon-jin reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to hold a face-to-face meeting in Budapest after a 2.5-hour phone call on Thursday, which was described by both sides as very productive. President Trump also said that he expects the meeting to be held within the coming 2 weeks. The planned summit will be their second in 2 months and signals renewed diplomatic efforts between Washington and Moscow. Trump said Secretary of State Marco Rubio will head a team of senior advisors meeting Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov next week to prepare the agenda. A specific date or location has not been determined yet. Putin's aides called the exchange extremely frank and trustful, while Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban hailed the planned meeting as great news for peace. The Kremlin said that it would immediately start preparing. The call between Trump and Putin came just a day before Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is due at the White House for talks on air defense and long-range missiles. Zelensky is expected to discuss potential supplies of U.S. long-range Tomahawk missiles, which would be capable of reaching Moscow from Ukraine. Zelensky expressed on social media that he hoped for the momentum of the Middle East peace deal to help end the war in Ukraine. When asked earlier in the week, Trump mentioned considering giving Ukraine Tomahawks. But after Putin saying that supplying the Tomahawks to Ukraine would endanger peace efforts, Trump has changed his answer, telling reporters that the U.S. could not deplete its own stock of the guided missiles. Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
Now, over in Japan, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has made an offering to the Yasukuni Shrine, where Class A war criminals from the Second World War are enshrined. And visiting it means to rationalize Japan's colonization of Korea. According to Kyodo News on Friday, Ishiba made an offering called Masakaki to mark the start of the Autumn Grand Festival. Now, since taking office, his making offerings or monetary donations instead of visiting the shrine in person. To this, South Korea's foreign ministry has expressed a regret. A statement read that the government urges Japan's leaders to face history properly and show sincere reflection over the past and remorse through actions. President Ijae sent words of support and encouragement to athletes celebrating a national multi-sport event. He attended the opening ceremony of the 106th National Sports Festival in Busan on Friday. He called every participant a champion for working hard with patience and passion, stressing the sporting value of a mutual respect and solidarity. He also thanked the Korean athletes visiting from overseas, adding that their taking part will help broaden the status of Korea on the world stage. The event runs until October 23rd, where some 30,000 participants will compete. With a growing interest in Korea and thanks to the success of Korean animation K-pop Demon Hunters, the number of visitors to National Museum of Korea this year surpassed 5 million. For the first time in its 80-year history, our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
Annual visitors to the National Museum of Korea have surpassed 5 million for the first time. According to the museum on Friday, a total of 5,016,382 people visited from January 1st to October 15th this year. Among them, 4.83 million were South Koreans and 185,705 were foreign nationals. This is a 69.7% increase compared to the same period last year. This marks the first time since the museum opened in 1945 that its annual attendance exceeded 5 million in a single year. A growing surge in interest in Korea attributed to the global popularity of Korean culture, including the success of the Netflix's animated series K-pop Demon Hunters, seemingly led to the record. An annual visitor count of over 5 million places the museum in the top 5 globally. According to the art newspaper, the world's most visited museum in 2024, for example, was the Louvre in Paris with over 8.7 million visitors, followed by Vatican Museums, the British Museum, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and Tate Modern. The National Museum of Korea has 13 affiliated national museums across the country. And with growing interest in Korea, the total number of visitors to all of these museums went over 11 million as well. Visitors to the affiliated national museums accounted for over 6.2 million, a roughly 10% increase compared to last year's. Eyes are now on whether the total visitors to the museum could approach 6 million by the end of the year. The director of the museum said it will aim to become a museum where culture can be enjoyed in everyday life with more exhibitions and improved viewing environment. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
There are many reasons to wait for Fridays, but one of them is definitely the arts and culture coverage by our culture correspondent, Park Konu. He is here in the studio with us. Happy Friday, Konu.
Happy Friday, Kami.
So, Konu, you have quite a rundown, a lineup of one-on-one sit-downs with renowned figures, and tell us about your latest.
Yes, so you might have guessed by looking at my nice-looking golden tie. This time, I met mega singer-songwriter Ejae, who also participated on several soundtracks for K-pop Demon Hunters, including Golden. And she visited Korea this week, and so I got to meet her up, and we talked about the stories behind her chart-topping single Golden, challenges she's faced and had to overcome, and even her next big goals. But before I give you too much away, first take a look at my interview with her. Up, 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 Ejae goes, breaking records by topping the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 straight weeks. When Golden first hit #1, she says there was one person she couldn't stop thinking about.
The first thing I thought of was 11, 12-year-old Ejae working her butt off in the studio at SM. And it was, a little message to her if it reached, that you did so good.
For more than 2 decades, she's faced her share of hardships, especially during her 10+ years as a K-pop trainee. Though she failed to debut as an idol back then, she says every moment happened for a reason.
I never, ever thought I'd be a songwriter in my life. That was never in my wish list. It just kind of organically happened when, after I came out of SM, I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
She spent long hours working alone, training herself to be better at songwriting. Then came the pandemic.
When that happened, we had to stay home. So it was hard, but it was honestly in a way amazing. It was a great experience because that's when I actually learned how to teach myself how to record. And a lot of songwriters don't really know how to record themselves or mix.
Through lessons learned from hard times, she joined the K-pop Demon Hunters team and helped spark a global phenomenon. As excitement builds for a possible sequel, Ejae told us about her creative ideas without hesitation.
트로트, literally. That would be amazing. So we'd love to explore the 판소리 아리랑 world.
And with the soundtrack success, Golden was submitted in multiple categories for next year's Grammy Awards, boosting her chances for a win.
Winning a Grammy Award is like just truly like something I wish I saw a fellow Korean American woman, Asian American woman in the industry to win. Like it would open doors for so many people.
After all these achievements, she reflects on what her younger self might say to her today. What do you think 11-year-old Ejae would tell you, seeing you now in one of your most golden moments of your life?
Oh my God, that's another emotional question. I think she'd just be like, thank you.
At the same time, she admits feeling pressure as expectations on her are so high.
Be like water. And I love that saying. That's kind of the concept of whatever comes your way, even if there's a lot of pressure, just do your best. Do whatever you can and 최선을 다해.
She also offered a heartfelt message to anyone chasing their dreams.
If my story helps, please work hard, be resilient, be kind to yourself, and also be kind to others. Everyone needs a little bit of kindness.
With that mindset, Ejae says she's working on her next steps, getting better at songwriting and exploring who she is as an artist, poised to shine golden as she was born to be.
Konu, what an amazing interview. But now, beside her amazing voice, she's also written a lot of K-pop songs, right?
A bunch. I mean, like, just to name a few, she's written like Psycho by Red Velvet, Drama and Armageddon by aespa.
All famous.
I can go on and on. I can do this all day. But I just named a few, but honestly, each of those is one of my favorites of each artist. And naturally, I was curious how she comes up with all these inspiration. And she's well known to have gotten inspiration for the highlight melodies of Golden on her way to the dentist. So I asked her for any other random moments when inspiration just strikes.
Drama, I was watching TikTok and I saw this fabulous drag queen and she kept saying like, am I the drama? I'm not the drama. Am I? Maybe I am the drama. And I love that saying. And so that's kind of where I got the inspiration for that song.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of fans who can't wait to hear more of her songs. What are her future plans?
So she's actually going to release a new single. It's actually being her first solo single ever, and it's called In Another World, which will be dropped on the 24th. And she explains it as a very peaceful and calm song that she's been keeping to herself for quite a while. And I'm sure many of you are wondering what it'll sound like. So, well, I've brought a short exclusive spoiler. So those who miss it might regret it. So here we go. But can you also give us a little exclusive spoiler, like a little hum or something?
Okay. Da-da-da-da. That's it.
So she also shared her desire to collaborate with global artists, including BTS and Dua Lipa. But when she also says collaboration with pop artists, she means adding a touch of Korean style to the mix. So that's definitely an intriguing project we should look forward to, since she also said she has lots of music that's unrevealed yet.
All right, Konu, thanks for coming in tonight. You have a lovely weekend.
You too. Have a golden weekend.
Rain is forecast across the country again starting from tonight. This rain will continue until tomorrow morning. About 20 to 70 millimeters of rain is expected in eastern parts of Gangwon-do province, 10 to 50 in Chungcheongnam-do and Jeollabuk-do provinces, and 10 to 40 millimeters in the rest areas. In particular, between dawn and morning tomorrow, there will be heavy rain of around 20 millimeters per hour in Chungcheongnam-do provinces and the Jeollado provinces. The temperatures will drop sharply as cold air comes down from the north from tomorrow. On Monday, the morning temperature in Seoul will plummet to 5 degrees Celsius, bringing a sudden cold. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 16 degrees, Busan at 21 degrees. Daily highs will rise up to 19 to 24 degrees all over the country. For the time being, frequent rain is expected in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.